Ethan stepped off the transport pod and felt the wind of the alien world brush against his face. The air was heavy with the scent of strange flowers, and the sky shimmered with colors he had never seen on Earth. Towers of crystal-like trees rose, high above, catching the light and scattering it in brilliant hues. He had been sent to this distant planet as part of a survey mission, but the work opportunities were limited, and his funds were almost gone. Survival had become his only goal. The settlement he walked toward looked quiet, almost eerie. Small, buildings made of a metallic, glassy substance reflected the sunlight, and alien creatures moved gracefully between them. Ethan kept his gaze low, careful not to draw too much attention. Humans were rare here, and he had learned quickly that attention often brought trouble. He was here to work. Nothing more, he reminded himself. Ethan had heard about Lyria, a wealthy widow who owned a large estate near the edge of the settlement. Rumors said she was grieving, raising her child alone after losing her mate in a border conflict. Some whispered that she was strict, others that she was kind but private. Either way, it was said that her estate always needed labor. That was why Ethan had decided to approach her. He wanted a chance to earn credits and maybe find food and shelter for a while. When he arrived at the gates of her estate, he paused. The gates were tall, almost as if they were meant to keep people out. A soft light shimmered from inside, and he could see a figure moving in the courtyard. His heart beat faster. Lyria was known to be imposing, but he had to try. Ethan squared his shoulders and stepped forward. The door opened before he could knock. Lyria stood there, tall and elegant, with silver-blue skin that seemed to glow faintly in the sunlight. Her eyes were sharp, piercing, and immediately studied him. Ethan felt a shiver run down his spine. She was beautiful, commanding, and there was an aura of authority around her that made him feel small. "Human," she said, her voice calm but firm. "You are bold to appear here. What do you want?" I'm looking for work," Ethan said, trying to keep his voice steady. "I can help with anything. Maintenance, gardening, security. Whatever you need." Lyria studied him in silence. Ethan could feel her gaze weighing every part of him, as if she was searching for hidden intentions. After a long moment she spoke, but her words were not what he expected. "I do not need a worker," she said, her eyes locking onto his. "I need a father." Ethan blinked. He thought he had misheard. Father?" he asked, confused. Her lips curved slightly, but there was no humor in her expression. "My child," she said, "is without a parent. I do not need labor. I need someone who can guide, protect, and care for her as a father would." Ethan swallowed hard. He had come here for work, not for family responsibilities, especially not for a child of an alien species he barely understood. And yet, something in Lyria's eyes made him hesitate. There was a vulnerability there, a silent plea, and he found himself drawn to it. I am not sure I can," he began, but Lyria interrupted. "You may not understand," she said softly. "But if you cannot help, then leave. I have no need for those who cannot commit." Ethan felt a mixture of fear and curiosity. He glanced past her into the courtyard where a small figure peeked from behind a crystal pillar. The child had large, expressive eyes that seemed to study him with intelligence beyond her age. There was a quiet strength in her stance, and Ethan realized that this was no ordinary child. "Her name is Kayla," Lyria said, reading his thoughts. "She has seen too much for someone so young. I need someone who can stand by her, teach her, protect her. Someone human, perhaps, who can show her courage." Ethan's mind raced. He had faced danger on Earth and in space, but this was different. This was about trust, about forming a bond across worlds and species. Could he really do it? He was a stranger in this world, and yet something inside him stirred, a desire to rise to the challenge. I can try," he said finally, his voice firmer. "I will do my best." Lyria's eyes softened slightly. "Very well. You will stay and see if you are worthy. But understand this, human. This is not a job. You will not simply work. You will become part of our lives. Fail, and you will leave. Succeed, and perhaps you will find something more than survival." The gates opened, and Ethan stepped inside. The courtyard was larger than he had imagined. Crystalline flowers glimmered in the sunlight, and a small fountain bubbled with water that sparkled like liquid gems. Kayla watched him closely, her gaze sharp and assessing. For the first few days, Ethan's life became a whirlwind of learning. Lyria taught him about her world, its customs, and the responsibilities he would have. He learned that Kayla was clever, curious, and sometimes mischievous. She asked endless questions, testing his patience and knowledge. But Ethan found that he enjoyed teaching her simple things, like how to move carefully through the crystal forest or how to identify safe fruits and water sources. Kayla, in turn, began to trust him. She would follow him on short walks around the estate, asking questions about Earth and listening with rapt attention to his stories. Ethan marveled at her intelligence and resilience. Despite the loss she had suffered, she remained spirited and brave. Ethan also discovered that Lyria's world was not entirely peaceful. Rival factions often tried to exploit widows like Lyria, taking advantage of their vulnerability. One evening, Ethan noticed strange ships hovering near the edge of the estate. He immediately informed Lyria, and together they devised ways to protect Kayla and the property. Ethan's experience with human tactics and problem-solving proved valuable, and Lyria began to show subtle signs of respect and gratitude. The relationship between Ethan, Lyria, and Kayla began to grow. Ethan was careful, knowing that trust could not be forced. He shared small meals with them, helped with household chores, and listened to their stories. Lyria slowly opened up about her mate, sharing memories of their life together. Ethan realized that her grief was deep, but her love for Kayla was stronger. He found himself wanting to be there, not just as a helper, but as someone Kayla and Lyria could rely on. One night, as they sat under the alien sky watching the stars shift in unusual patterns, Kayla leaned against Ethan and whispered, "Do you think my father would have liked you?" Ethan was taken aback. I don't know," he said honestly. "But I promise I will try to be someone you can rely on, someone who protects you and teaches you." Kayla nodded, her eyes reflecting the shimmering stars. Ethan felt a strange warmth in his chest. He realized that this was no longer about earning work credits or surviving in an alien world. It was about trust, courage, and becoming something more than himself. A protector, a mentor, a human who could make a difference. Over the next few weeks, Ethan settled into a routine. He learned the nuances of alien daily life, from preparing meals suited to their biology to navigating the crystal forests safely. He also trained Kayla in basic survival and problem-solving, always careful to encourage her confidence rather than instill fear. Lyria watched silently, her approval growing as she observed their interactions. Word of the human who stayed with Lyria and Kayla spread throughout the settlement. Some were skeptical, believing a human could not truly bond with an alien child. Others watched with curiosity, seeing how Ethan's courage and kindness began to shift the perception of humans in their world. One afternoon, a small crisis tested Ethan's abilities. Kayla wandered too far into the crystal forest, chasing a glowing insect. Ethan's heart raced as he tracked her, calling her name. He moved swiftly but carefully, avoiding traps and sharp crystals. When he finally found her, she was unharmed but scared. Ethan scooped her up and reassured her with calm words, showing patience and strength. Kayla hugged him tightly, and Ethan felt a deep sense of belonging. When they returned to the estate, Lyria met them at the gate. She studied Ethan closely, seeing the way he carried himself and how Kayla trusted him completely. Her lips curved into a faint smile. "Perhaps," she said softly, "you are more than a human stranger after all." Ethan felt a mix of relief and pride. He had come seeking work, but he had found something entirely unexpected: a connection, a purpose, and the first hints of family in a world far from his own. As night fell and the stars danced across the sky, Ethan lay awake, thinking of the days ahead. He knew challenges would come, dangers lurked in the galaxy, and trust was fragile. But for the first time in a long while, he felt ready. ready to face the unknown, ready to protect and ready to become someone Kayla could call a father, even if the universe had never expected it. And somewhere deep inside, he knew that this was only the beginning. Days passed on the alien world, and Ethan's place in Lyria's household became more established. He had grown accustomed to the rhythms of the estate, the crystal forest surrounding it, the shimmering rivers and the unique wildlife that moved with grace and intelligence. Each day was a lesson, both for him and for Kayla as they explored, learned, and grew together. Kayla had become bolder in Ethan's presence. She trusted him completely now, following him into the crystal gardens and asking endless questions about Earth. Ethan found joy in answering her, telling her about oceans, forests, and skies filled with clouds. Sometimes Kayla would laugh and imagine herself flying over Earth's mountains, even though she had never seen them. Her imagination reminded Ethan that even in alien worlds, hope and wonder could thrive. Lyria observed them quietly from a distance. She remained reserved, her grief never far from her mind. Yet she could not deny the subtle warmth that grew in her heart as she watched Ethan with her child. She had been cautious, unwilling to risk her heart or Kayla's safety. But slowly she began to sense that this human was different, not just strong or brave, but kind and steady, a presence that her daughter could rely on. One evening, as the twin moons rose high over the estate, Lyria called Ethan to the courtyard. He approached cautiously, wondering what she wished to discuss. She stood near the fountain, her eyes reflecting the silver light. "Ethan," she began, "you have proven yourself capable and patient. You have earned Kayla's trust, and you have shown courage beyond what I expected from a human." Ethan nodded, unsure how to respond. Compliments from Lyria were rare, and he did not want to appear presumptuous. "There is more to your role than I initially told you," she continued. "Rival factions in this settlement know of my loss and may attempt to take advantage. You will not only guide Kayla, but also protect us both. Are you prepared for that responsibility?" Ethan swallowed hard but nodded firmly. "I will do everything I can," he said. "I will protect you and Kayla no matter what." Lyria's eyes softened. "Then you may begin your training in full," she said. "Not as a worker, but as a father in every way that matters. Teach Kayla, protect her, and earn our trust. There is no greater challenge than this." The next weeks were filled with lessons, both simple and complex. Ethan taught Kayla about survival in her world, how to read the movements of the creatures in the crystal forest, how to gather safe fruits, and how to recognize danger before it arrived. Kayla absorbed everything with an eagerness that surprised him. Her small hands were steady, her mind sharp, and her curiosity endless. But the alien world was not without threats. One morning, strange ships hovered on the horizon belonging to a faction that sought to claim Lyria's estate. Ethan immediately alerted Lyria, and together they devised a plan to defend themselves. He led Kayla through hidden paths in the forest, teaching her to move silently and quickly. They set traps and camouflage to protect the estate, blending human ingenuity with alien tactics. When the rival group arrived, Ethan's leadership and quick thinking proved vital. He anticipated their moves, guiding Lyria and Kayla safely within the estate walls. His courage and resourcefulness amazed the aliens watching him. They had underestimated humans, assuming they were weak and ill-prepared for interstellar survival. Ethan proved them wrong, showing that humans were capable of intelligence, bravery, and determination beyond expectations. After the skirmish, the estate was safe, and Lyria looked at Ethan with a new level of respect. "You have done more than I imagined," she said softly. "Not only have you protected us, but you have also shown Kayla what courage and loyalty truly mean." Kayla ran to Ethan, hugging him tightly. "Thank you," she whispered. "I knew you would help us." Ethan felt a warmth in his chest unlike anything he had experienced before. For the first time, he felt needed not just for survival, but for something greater. A family, a bond that transcended worlds. Days turned into weeks, and life at the estate settled into a rhythm. Ethan continued teaching Kayla, showing her the ways of Earth and her own world. She learned about trust, resilience, and kindness, while he learned about patience, alien culture, and the meaning of connection across species. Lyria began to share stories of her mate, of moments of joy and sorrow, teaching Ethan how to honor the past while building the future. One afternoon, Kayla asked a question that surprised Ethan. "Will you stay with us forever?" she asked, her small hands gripping his. Ethan looked down at her, a mixture of surprise and affection in his eyes. I will stay as long as you and Lyria wish, he said carefully. I want to be here for you, Kayla. Not because I have to, but because I want to. Kayla smiled, her eyes bright. I want you to stay, she said simply. Lyria observed the exchange, her heart stirring in ways she had not expected. She realized that Ethan had become more than a helper. He had become a presence she could trust, someone who could bring stability and love to their small family. Challenges continued to come, as life in this alien settlement was never without danger. Strange storms swept through the crystal forests, and rival factions occasionally tested the estate's defenses. Each time, Ethan faced the challenges with courage and ingenuity, protecting Kayla and Lyria while teaching the young girl to remain calm and resourceful. Through these trials, a bond solidified between them. Kayla grew more confident, laughing and playing under Ethan's guidance while Lyria found herself leaning on him for advice and support. Ethan's humanity, his courage, empathy, and resilience proved invaluable. The aliens in the settlement began to see humans in a new light, respecting the strength and character that Ethan displayed. One evening, as the three of them sat together watching the twin moons rise, Ethan felt a deep sense of belonging. He had come seeking work, but he had found something far greater. A purpose, a connection, and the beginnings of a family. Lyria rested her hand lightly on his arm, a gesture of trust and acceptance. Kayla nestled against him, her small body warm and trusting. You have done more than I could have hoped, Lyria said quietly. You have become part of our lives, part of our family. I never expected this from a human, but now I cannot imagine life without you. Ethan smiled, feeling a mixture of humility and pride. I never expected this either, he admitted. But I am glad. I want to be here for both of you in any way I can. Kayla lifted her head, her eyes shining. Then we are a family, she said simply. A real family. The night grew quiet, the alien stars twinkling above them like distant fires. Ethan felt a sense of peace he had never known. For the first time in his life, he was not just surviving, he was living, contributing, and forming a bond that crossed worlds and species. In the following weeks, life became a balance of learning, exploration, and joy. Ethan continued to teach Kayla, preparing her for the challenges of the universe while also sharing stories of human bravery, curiosity, and empathy. Lyria supported him, gradually letting go of her fears and grief, realizing that this human had become indispensable not just for Kayla, but for her as well. One day, a festival arrived in the settlement, celebrating the harmony between species and the triumph of courage. Lyria and Kayla invited Ethan to join them. As they walked through the festivities, aliens from all over the region watched them, curious about the human who had earned such a place in their hearts. Ethan felt a quiet pride. He realized that humans were capable of extraordinary things. Empathy, courage, and the ability to form bonds where others saw only differences. During the festival, Kayla tugged at Ethan's hand. Look at the sky, she said, pointing to a brilliant display of lights that danced across the horizon. It's like the stars are celebrating us too. Ethan watched, feeling a profound sense of connection. He realized that he had not only found a family but also a role that mattered deeply. In protecting, teaching, and caring for Lyria and Kayla, he had discovered the strength and compassion that made humans extraordinary. Lyria joined them, her hand finding Ethan's. You are more than I could have hoped for, she said softly. Not just a protector, but a father, a partner, and a friend. You have shown us what humans can truly be. Ethan looked at them, his heart full. I only did what felt right, he said. I never expected to find a family here, but now I cannot imagine life without you both. As the festival lights faded and the twin moons rose once more, Ethan, Lyria, and Kayla stood together, watching the stars. They were a family forged not by blood but by trust, courage, and love. Ethan knew that the universe was vast and full of challenges, but with Lyria and Kayla by his side, he felt ready to face anything, and in that moment under the alien sky, he realized something powerful. Humanity's greatest strength was not in technology or weapons, but in the ability to care, to protect, and to form bonds that could cross any boundary, even between worlds. The human who had come seeking work had found something far greater, a place where he belonged, a child who trusted him, and a bond with an alien woman that promised a future filled with hope, courage, and love.